The power of film is to make us think about things we haven't thought about before.
The power of film is, in its essence form, all about the story.
Well, the power of film is the power of storytelling.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
Anna had committed suicide by hanging herself from the bar in her closet.
I've always been fascinated with film. For me, it was my escape from reality, and I knew one day I would become a filmmaker. That's me, ABaldowski. Well, actually, that's me. I've only written and directed a small number of short films, but over time I soon realized the length of the story did not matter in how the audience connected. This led me to ask the question, what is the power of film?
Storytelling is how we, make sense of our world and make sense of ourselves. And by hearing other people's stories and being able to connect and communicate. And I think when film came along and people came in droves to see the new technology, what they really ended up doing was, seeing new people's viewpoints and being turned on, if you will, or enlightened to other viewpoints that they may not have been, privy to before. Literacy was an issue across many parts of the country, more so than it is today. And so to be able to see something visually, as opposed to having to, read it, and to get a story communicated to you that way, I think is very liberating. I think it was very powerful in that it liberated people to think more. There's a line in Sunset Boulevard, I don't know that it's in the movie, but it's in the play by Andrew Lloyd Webber, that says, "We gave people new ways to dream." So right there, you're talking about a whole world opening up to people that didn't have it before film.
I think that film has two really distinct purposes, or at least it can. The first being to entertain, to escape, to fall into a world of fantasy and imagination. And I think the second can be to challenge and to inform and to push us past maybe what we know to something else.
It tells the story of humanity. It gives the visuals to what a lot of people might think. If not, it gives an idea as to what humanity thinks in itself. Having adventures, having drama, having comedy. These are things that people experience. These are things that people can relate to, and they have stories. The fact that these stories are brought to film kind of brings people together in some cases.
The history of film can be the history of many things. It can be the history of community presentation or mass presentation. You look at how films used to be shown, and if you take the concept of the photographic, flip machines from the dime stores, if you look at that as film, that's one form where you had to actually stick your head into this little a visor sort of thing, and the rest of your body was actually exposed to the world, but your mind and your world was focused on what you were seeing on the flip cards. So that's one type of presentation, and then taking that inside and then watching this story or seeing this communication with not just yourself, but all of a sudden you're doing it with a lot of other people. And what does that bring to the situation?
When you sit in a theater. I mean, it's going to be different than if you were sitting at home. I mean, it does impact, in a New York theater, for example, might have somebody that's yelling out things, or maybe they're yelling out lines because they've seen this show, the film, maybe several different times. If you have something, say like, if you happen to be in an environment where other individuals happen to be present, then you have kind of maybe you can even call it a group think. Somebody might start it, but it's where everyone starts viewing it from that person's point of view if they're loud enough.
I think a very simple way to explain that is just to ask anybody who's seen a movie by themselves, but then they see it in a theater. And I think, for me, it was, I was very familiar with Gone with the Wind from a young age because CBS used to show it, in, 2 parts, 2-night miniseries sort of thing when I was much younger. And then somewhere in around 2000, there was a showing of Gone with the Wind at the Tampa Theater. And a bunch of friends said, hey, let's go see Gone with the Wind. And to my surprise, some of them said, I've never seen it. So I thought, well, I would love to see Gone with the Wind with people who've never seen it. So right there is something that's a little bit different. And I've always taken the film very seriously, looking at the plight of Southerners, both rich and poor, and what happened during war and the struggles that people go through. And I was always very moved by it. And when I saw it with a group of people in the Tampa Theater, that was a packed house, by the way, I realized there's comedy in it. There is comedy just spattered throughout Gone with the Wind that I never really even noticed because it's through the filter of other people and through that experience of watching it with others that I got a whole new perspective.
Social media has helped as far as watching movies. It allows a real-time experience as far as being able to give their opinion as to what they like, what they don't like. It's kind of a running count. If you use something like Twitter, if you use something like Facebook, or even if you do it on just on the web or blogs, you are able to give your opinion or change the story in some sense because as to what people think about a particular film.
There's just a lot out there now, and you have to sift through all the different types of storytelling and whatnot to find the substance. I think it's great that you can tell the same story in 2 minutes on YouTube that sometimes it takes 2 hours to do on screen.
We're going to continue to see things immediately, and we're going to continue to see things that maybe some people wouldn't want us to see. And I think that's going to inform electorates. I think that's going to overthrow governments. I think that's going to change how we engage in entertainment.
I think it's a little bit of all of it. If I closed my eyes and got into myself and thought, am I the media or is the media me? There are stories throughout my life that I connect with. Why does a 12-year-old boy stop in his tracks for days after seeing Sunset Boulevard, a film from 1950, and I watch it 30 or 40 years later, and am blown away by all the acting performances, all the set design, the film, the actual camera work. I mean, there's just little nuances. Why does one person, or many people, but why does one person really relate to that? I think that's not everybody reacts to Sunset Boulevard the same way. So I don't think that the media necessarily shapes you, but I think as a story, whatever story is being told, whether it's the actual narrative that's going on or the plot, or whether it's the story that the black and white shadows create, or whether it's the story of living in Hollywood in 1950, whether it's that aesthetic that is telling a story to me, I think it's up to the individual to pick it up. And, there's something inside of us that, connects with different things and at different times.